Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Deborah Peters Show. I am Deborah Peters, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you join me here today. This show is all about creating a life that you enjoy living. It's walking away from the groupthink, it's learning to be your own master, it's self mastery in 5 areas of your life: health, wealth, relationships, self expression, and business. And I like to bring on guests that can contribute to you living your best life and actually living life on the leading edge of thought where you really feel like you're sovereign and you're creating a life that is truly worthy of you instead of just accepting something that is shown to you or down to you. And instead, you actually step into your power and create the life that you would like to live and then go beyond that. So today I have another guest, or I should say, a guest that is back another time. And his name is Chris Neal, and he is a performance medicine expert. He's the founder of Vivo Health HRT. And thank you so much for jumping back on here today. I'm looking forward to sharing some more morsels with our audience.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited and really happy to and honored to be a friend of the show. And I love it. It's great. I love sharing information and like you said, just really exploding our thought process on so many topics that are really, really important. And we have to break free from a lot of the indoctrination that just goes along with a lot of these topics. So in regards to health, wealth, like and just as a part of the health side, that's more my wheelhouse. Emotional health, psychological health, how we see things, how we see our machine. We're only given one machine to live in,
Right.
our entire life. And how do we see that? How do we work with that? Which is we're
Yes.
indoctrinated into a lot of incorrect ways of thinking, or I guess I should say, like it doesn't have to be that way, is a good
Exactly.
way to put it. So
Yeah, no,
thanks for having me.
absolutely dead on. And I Thursday of last week, I led a single day leadership and management retreat, and I do those in two cities now. I do them on the East Coast and the West Coast, and it's always interesting every time I do one to see what the sort of like the main theme of the thinking is. What's the cultural code that people have a tendency to be living based on the environment that they've spent a great deal of time in. And so um, the timing of that with this is incredible because pretty much everybody in the room was kind of nodding their head and saying the same thing about, well, now I think this one lady, and she runs she's a real estate broker, and she has this huge real estate company, and she says, now I'm in my 50s and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone, people saying, "Oh yeah, that, I can relate to that."
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty soon, someone else came along and it's like, "Yeah, me too. I'm in my mid 50s, and my body's not working the way it was, and mentally, I'm not in a good place, and I have this brain fog, and I guess it's just they were accepting of this like downturn in their
Yeah.
lives, and this has always been sort of like a pet peeve of mine, Chris, like even before I discovered you or this concept that we can actually take dominion over our aging and
Mm-hmm.
have an understanding of what's going on with our body. So like even, back in my 20s, I owned a gym, and I remember saying to myself one day, like, I am never going to think like that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying that to myself.
That's where it starts.
That's where it starts. I had no idea what I was going to think instead. I just knew I wasn't going to fall prey to this socially defined structure that creates our limitations for us en masse, and
Mm-hmm.
that we just, accept it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the funny thing about it to me is that I have a screw loose somewhere, or I cannot stop but I can't stop thinking out of the box.
Yeah,
Like when someone presents something to me, I'm immediately thinking about like, how would this work in like six other boxes all at once? So people think, they
sure.
talk like that, just like how, your experience at your conference, but if you went to someone's house and just for a visit, and you walk into the kitchen, and it's a 30-year-old house, or 50-year-old house. Here, we'll put it there.
Okay.
50-year-old house. And they say, this has been my house forever. It's a 50-year-old house. And the dishwasher, it's a 50-year-old GE dishwasher. It's loud, it leaks all over the floor, and the tile is off, and like, my stove doesn't work, and I just don't know, like, but hey, what are you going to do? It's a 50-year-old house. And like the first thing you would tell them is like, well, you can replace the dishwasher, right? Like you can get someone, you can redo the whole kitchen. Like there's so many different things that you could do
Right.
to like spruce up this house and make it. Well, everybody says that it is what it is. When a house gets older, it just gets older, and it just crumbles away. Like
And I'm supposed to just suffer and settle
yeah, it's like,
and
why would you do that?
quietly in the corner go off and die.
But that's what we're indoctrinated with, not only by our relatives and our family members and our elders and everything, but but actually by medical experts too.
Yes.
You go into your doctor and you say, hey, I'm not sick or anything, but I don't feel as energetic as I did when I was 20.
Yeah.
I'm putting on weight, and I'm doing the same things that I was able to lose weight before, but like it's just not happening now. Or like, I find that my concentration at work is just not the same. I'm just
Yes.
forgetting little things, little thing, or I'm losing words, when I'd like to be able to form nice cohesive sentences. Like it just doesn't come to me as quickly. I need more caffeine during the day, in order to make it through. That my day is just more of a struggle. I'm not sick though. But
Right.
hey, doc, what do you have that might help me through that? And what do they say? They say, well, you're such and such years old, so this is what happens. That's normal. That's what
They
everybody
do say
says.
that. It's the
You
first
know?
thing out of their mouth. It's like, well, how
Yeah.
old are you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's
This is to
normal.
be expected. Yeah.
Yeah, and look at your numbers on this piece of paper. You're actually doing pretty good. So you just
Yeah.
keep
And
at
the
it.
numbers
like-
are substandard.
Yeah. You just keep at it. You just look at these. You're doing well. You're doing fine. Don't be discouraged. Eat more salad. Walk 10 minutes a day, and we'll see you back in 6 months.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, like, why am I coming back?
Yeah, but well, that's you. You wonder that.
Yeah.
But most people walk away thinking, okay, well, you know what? I guess this is just how it is. This is how I'm supposed to feel. He's right. I am getting older, and I guess I just need to accept that and swallow that pill and be okay with my body just crumbling away like a 50-year-old house or whatever.
I have to tell you, something that runs through my mind all the time, because I'm fascinated with neuroscience and mindset, which I want to get into today when it comes to hormones. Something that runs through my mind a great deal is, I wonder if we didn't have this continuous imprinting of what a certain age should look like through adverts, through languaging, through all different medias. If let's say we didn't ever look at an advertisement on a television where the models are fitting, a certain look, energy, feel.
Or if we had no concept of age, like if age wasn't
Yeah,
the
so I'm
number.
trying to say, if we didn't have a relationship or a reference point for that, then what would we do with ourselves? That always fascinates me.
We'd have to find some other form of measurement of degradation of life, which in the animal kingdom is your abilities to be able to do what you want to do.
Sure.
Like in the animal kingdom, when you're when you're no longer able to keep up with the pack.
Yeah.
You go and you dig a hole and you just lay there and you die, or like, when you're no longer able to, and it's a very defining thing. Like, when you're no longer able to, climb the trees or fly or whatever it is, then you just kind of, you wander off on by yourself, and just do your own thing and die. And like that's just, but because they have no concept, they have no measurement of age, to attach that to. So then, if you're able to, if you have the power, the ability to do certain things to modify your machine so that you can keep up with the pack longer, then why would you not do that?
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess, one of the answers to that question, depending on who you're getting that answer from, would be, it's dangerous to use hormone replacement therapy. And because and I've heard this from so many clients, once you start, you can never stop. And once you start, then your body's reliant on it, and it can really mess with the rest of you. And, what are all of these concepts about? What's their validity to?
Well, 99.9% of the time, the validity is not based on any kind of real factual science. It's kind of like how the socially, what did people first start saying when before like makeup became really commonplace? When women started wearing makeup, oh my gosh, she's wearing makeup. Like, and by the way, no, your makeup looks great. You're fine.
Oh,
like,
thank
so
you.
It's not. but
That's fine.
But people would say crazy stuff. Oh my gosh, once you start wearing makeup, you have to wear it forever. You don't have to wear it just to go to the grocery store. You'll have to wear makeup all the time, or that's going to ruin your skin, or like that's going to be, or people are going to think you're a prostitute or whatever. Like, all kinds of the insanity, the crazy things that they would say, not based on anything at all. And here we are, however many, 100 years later or whatever, and it's everywhere. Everybody wears makeup, and I mean, and it's not it's just something that we do to try and, I mean, you can call it what you keep up with the pack. Like, you try and you want to make yourself look great and look your best and look, there's nothing wrong with that,
and feel good.
Yeah.
So, something I want to dig into in this episode that I don't think we've spent a lot of time on in the past is, and thank you for coming on again, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get into how a shift in our hormones can have an effect on us mentally and emotionally and psychologically. And, I'm kind of asking this for a couple of reasons. One, obviously for the audience, so we can start to, like, maybe it's not your body that is not performing. Maybe it's your mental, emotional state. But I have to say that, so growing up, my mom, this is the reason I'm asking this question. Growing up, my mom really struggled with mental health. She'd been through a lot of trauma in her life, and it really just, took its toll. And so right after my dad died, the doctors told her she needed a hysterectomy. And honestly, as I look back on it now, she probably didn't need one at all. I think she was grieving, and it was like insurmountable grief packed on top of like all of this unresolved trauma. And it just became this like massive thing that mentally and emotionally affected her psychology, and it impacted her body's ability to function the way it should. And the whole thing about the hysterectomy was probably 20 years premature. She may have never needed one.
How old was she when she had
35.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that then, from that, came a whole bunch of other hormonal issues. It's another
No, of
conversation.
course.
But
Yeah.
I think for, because we just talked a little bit before we started the show today, and we said we're going to talk about the differences between men and women and hormonal shifts and how that impacts our lives, and the similarities and then the differences. And just now I was just thinking about, remembering my mother going through that process. And I was just a young girl, but I felt something intuitively was wonky. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
something's not right about this. And I still, to this day, I really think it was hormonal, based on the grief and the trauma. So when people go through experiences like significant emotional events in their lives, that can really affect our glandular system, which I guess is,
Oh yeah.
the where the hormone production comes into play, at least most of it.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, because I think that's powerful.
So, yeah, there's several things that I want to touch on with that. First off, I'm sorry to hear about the situation with your mom and what happened.
Thank you.
But to imagine you're a fly on the wall during that discussion that the doctor has with his assistant or whatever, and he's making the decision, which, by the way, most likely back then, he was the one making the decision by himself. It's not
Sure.
like he was bringing your mom in to like actually discuss it. And you get
It was
make
like,
collective
this is what you're
decisions.
doing. Yeah.
So to be a fly on the wall, and I've been the fly on the wall. I've been there. I've been in the room. Like, I've been the one making the decision, who needs surgery, who doesn't, and how that decision plays out. You would be amazed at how fast that decision is made.
Yeah.
And we are trained in order to make decisions like that quickly. I didn't say effectively, I said quickly. So and what I've found, and what bothered me right off the bat with like, with that, going through it myself, on the clinician side, is that it is, I was taught very, very early, Chris, you should never rush through anything that you care about. Never rush through anything that's important to you. So if like it, so if a patient comes in and they're complaining of, they'll complain about things, and you'll translate it into your own medical speech, okay? And then so she can be saying all kinds of things, but really, like, to really get to trauma and loss and grief, like, it doesn't just come out right off the bat. Hey, I've
Sure.
got grief. No, it's not like I have a fever, I have a cough, like that comes out. Those are very quick. But to really, like, and people aren't just gonna like talk about that stuff.
Sure.
You have to really dig in with people. So that's why, like, that blows my mind that but it's so common, that doctors are not able, or they don't take the time to really dig in with people. And sometimes it might take 15 minutes of talking about the weather or whatever, or how
To
things
have
are
that
going,
client open up.
and then they mention something, and it's like, whoa, that makes a big difference. Holy cow, wait a minute. Let's talk about that for a minute. Now that changes everything, but if it's just like, hey, this, patient X comes in, she has emotional issues, like literally, like she can say, you know what, I'm really not feeling my best. Like, I'm sad, I'm irritable all the time, like I'm gaining weight. Okay, emotional issues, weight gain, blah blah. Like, we break it down into very cold, factors.
Sure.
Okay, there you go. Hysterectomy. We'll get you done and over with. We'll have it out in 2 weeks. And it's very cold and short, like that. Like, that's literally how it is. Which, like I said, it's not effective if you're thinking about what's best for the one person, like your mom. I
Well,
agree.
yeah. And then there's all of the changes that hormonally a woman goes through when she has a hysterectomy, that affect the mind and the emotions that nobody talks about.
That was going to be my next thing. So, and what happens in, just again, like on the education, on the clinician side of things, we are taught to think about the human body and how the human body works as what I like to call a digital machine. But
Right.
we're not a digital machine. We're not based off of numbers, and interworkings like that. Well, this number has to be this, or this lab value has to look like this, or whatever. We're not a digital machine. We're a very, very organic machine where everything is interconnected.
Yes.
So the idea that a nephrologist, for example, only has to be focused on kidney numbers. That's all I have to look at. Nothing else matters. You miss out.
Compartmentalizing.
Yeah, you cannot compartmentalize like an organic machine that's free flowing and everything is connected. And so that includes, your it's connected literally to your outside world, and connected to your stress level, your emotional, your level of happiness, your endorphins, how that affects your healing and your growth hormone factors and your cortisol levels, and how your body responds to two different hormones that you do have, and
Sure.
like your numbers on a piece of paper can be exactly the same from like 1 month to the next month, but how your body responds can be drastically different.
Two different experiences. I know of
Yeah.
that for sure because, and I mentioned this in our last show. Um, for some time, I was estrogen dominant, and I didn't know I was estrogen dominant. Um, my doctor actually wanted me to take more estrogen, which I
Yeah.
did for a while.
Mm.
But, and then I decided it wasn't good for me. I just paid attention to the shifts and changes, not just in my body, but in my mindset. Because what the biggest thing the estrogen dominance was doing to me, besides really packing on 30 pounds of weight that I didn't
Hmm.
need, was on a mental level, I just could not focus.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
was just helter skelter, my mind racing. I was all over the place, a lot of negative thinking, a lot of doom and gloom thoughts. Now, that might not be what every woman experiences with estrogen dominance, but it's what I experienced.
Hmm.
And there was
Yeah.
no connecting of the dots between the 30 pounds on my body, all this estrogen I'm taking, and the funk I was in. I was in a funk, like a
Yeah.
perpetual funk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to connect those dots, it takes time to really see and understand the interconnections of all of that. It does take effort and time. Where it's like, oh, Deborah, okay, 30 pounds on you, that ain't too bad. You're like an average such and such, whatever. You're fine.
It's
Just
true.
eat more salad. That's-
Yeah, I was living, and the
yeah.
more salad I ate, the more weight I gained. What's interesting
Yeah.
is I actually, which is then what ended up leading me to you,
Hmm.
was I actually started to figure it out on my own, where
Hmm.
I was like, something's not right here. I just am not, my mind is not firing the way it should. I'm not able to focus and concentrate and keep a thought pattern alive without making a note.
Hmm.
So you can look at it and go, oh yeah, that's right, I was working on that,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And then the biggest issue I had was sort of like this feeling, this mindset of defeatism,
Oh yeah.
where I
Yeah.
just felt like, what's the point,
Very
And
common. Confidence.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Confidence. Yeah. Very, very
So
common.
confidence. So let's talk about that. So wonky hormones can totally pull the rug right up from underneath your entire life.
Oh, it's huge. Like the impact of hormones is like we're just now beginning to even scratch the surface of it. I'll give you a really good story that just today I had a patient. She was in her, was she 60, maybe 59 or something like that. Yeah, I think she was 59. So she got on hormone therapy, and her levels were a little too high, so we brought them down and it was fine. But so she had just gotten started. Her husband's been on hormone therapy for a while, and she said she had the funniest thing to say to me. She said um, Chris, I never knew how powerful hormones were. I heard what you said, and I'm going along with it, and I needed help, because I'm really tired, and my libido was low, and like and I wanted to do something to try and to boost my energy levels, and because I'm so tired and I'm forgetting things all during the day, my concentration's horrible. But um, but there are things that struck me that I never ever knew, and my libido went my sexual libido went through the roof. That's all I could think about. That's all, and it was almost to the point where it's a problem, like because
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it so much, and that's part of the reason why we brought her
Thank
down a
God
little
she's
bit.
married.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like she's she was telling me about her interaction with her husband with this, and some people sometimes just people go into a lot more detail than what I need them to go in, but
Right.
whatever. So
TMI. Yeah.
yeah, but no, but she was funny. She said my husband, I told my husband, now I finally see, is this what you guys go through? Like all the
Mm.
time? Like, is this what it's like? And he's like, well, yeah, basically that's it. And she's like, no wonder guys are always naming, cars after women and not after body parts and stuff like that. And guys are so much like that. Like it's a hormone thing. That's what the hormones
Yeah.
doing that. And it's like, yeah, they're really, really powerful.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
truly are. I mean, true story, when I quit the estrogen, and I'm not saying estrogen is evil, everybody's different, everybody's bodies are different, everybody needs different amounts of it. So, but I'm just my experience, that's all I'm saying.
Hmm.
When I dropped the estrogen, I dropped 30 pounds. And
Yeah.
it was just I didn't even try. And the other thing I want to say is that when you start working with your hormones, like when I started working with you and we started working with some of the HRT, um, definitely your sex drive goes up. I mean, that's a real bona fide thing. So you should probably have a warning for women. It's like, make sure you've got a
It does go up.
boyfriend or a husband or something.
Yeah, it does go up. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but
you can channel
um,
that somewhere.
yeah, but I hear the most interesting things. Like I'll have one patient told me, I don't have road rage anymore.
Right.
I used to have road rage and now I don't. Like, or at work, the same annoying thing happens every single day. It always happens because that's my job. And before, it would just ruin my entire day. I just could not handle it. It would really mess up my day. And now it's like, okay, well, let's fix it. Let's move on. you
Yeah.
know and there's so many little intricacies to that. Now how that overlays with how you're able to handle stressful situations, not only cognitively, but if your body is under stress because you're sick or you have an illness or you have something else going on, like how does your body handle that? Like there's so many layers to the whole thing, that's really important.
Really is. And
Yeah.
I think that the key here is to really to have another point of view, another observation. Uh, don't just go by the lab numbers and say, okay, we have to fine tune. Because that was my issue. It was like we kept trying to fine tune me to this higher level of
Hmm.
estrogen that is supposed to be where I was, where I was supposed to be at. But even I wasn't even halfway there and I was feeling wonky. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily what the numbers say,
Yeah.
because again, like I said earlier in the show, the reference point that we the reference point that we're calibrating our lab numbers to is that's a whole other conversation. And it's
Hmm.
actually, we talked about that in our last show, right? So
Yeah, and
people
then
can
then
go
again,
and
like
watch that.
the body is not a digital machine. Like it's
Yeah.
so organic and so free flowing. Like it's just, it's if and so what do we do with that? Well, we have to take it takes more time. We have to talk about how you feel and work with things and treat everyone like an individual, and then we can reap all the benefits of getting dialed in and optimized, at any age, and that's the fun part, so that we don't have to follow the indoctrinated view of, well, Chris, you're going to be 46 this year and I'll be 46. So it's like, well, yeah, Chris, you're going to be 46. So yeah, your body's going to just decline,
Yeah, things that should be falling
So
apart at this point.
yeah,
Just
I
drop
know
off a limb walking down the street. It's
um,
like, oh, I'm 46 now.
I'm not going for it.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So let's talk a little bit more then about hormones and mindset, because
Mm,
I think we've come to a place where humanity's finally awake enough as a whole, as a mass consciousness, to be able to say, yeah, my mindset really does matter. It
mhm,
changes my existence. It changes the experiences that I have in my life. So, um, and I've worked with a lot of menopausal women, and I've worked with middle-aged to older men, and it's a the shutdown or the slowdown is it's a real thing, and it really does affect mindset and the ability to think bigger, to move past current perceived limitations, like to even perceive something other than the limitation can be dictated by hormone imbalances. Keep you stuck. I think we have a freeze. Looks like I lost him. He'll be back. So while we're waiting for Chris to come back, I want to encourage you to reach out to him at Vivo Health, HRT.com, and you can book a consultation. He doesn't charge for the consultation. You can get your labs run. You can talk about what's going on with your labs, what's going on with your body, what's going on with your mind, and you can get that feedback and determine if this is something for you. I just really wanted to spend some time with him again today. I think this is our third visit, although I called this part two because last time, and that was in April, we really got on top of some major issues around um, what goes on with the body and how the medical world is structured in such a way that you really don't get that attention, that time that you need for the physician to be able to dig into what's really going on with you. And so I wanted to do part two of that today and really do a deep dive. Now, right now, mindset is such a huge thing in today's world. We're so hyper aware of how our mindset really does impact us, and how it keeps us from moving forward, or actually can move us forward really, really quickly when we have our mindset on point. And a lot of mindset is influenced by our hormonal balances. And I always like to look at the brain syndicate. In our brain, we've got three main glands. We've got the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the hippocampus. And, these three glands need to work in harmony with one another and communicate effectively so that we can actually produce new thought. We're trained to think in loops or to go and regurgitate that information. Our conscious mind, which is finite, is limited to 7 thoughts plus or minus 2. Well, 7 chunks of thought. But even at that, we're still thinking in loops. We're still thinking the same stuff over and over and over. And then we wonder why nothing really changes for us. And so having our hormones in balance enable that brain syndicate to actually take us to new heights, because we are designed, we are hardwired to constantly seek more and more. That is the basis of how we are hardwired. We have different prime directives of the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind, of course, is infinite, and it is capable of more than all the grains of sand on the planet, more than all the stars in the sky. And that's you, by the way. You are your unconscious mind. And it's greater than 10 to the 10 to the 10th to the 10th power. So it's this infinite capacity that we have within us And it really behooves us to keep our bodies and our minds in good working order, keep our hormones balanced, really stay up to speed on the latest science when it comes to, do we really age? And if we age, what does that really look like? And I'm not talking about the stuff that's in the media when you're watching television and there's an ad for this medication or that resort or this cruise line or this set of power tools. And then they have these models that come on that look a particular way. They have a certain haircut, they have a certain color hair, they have a certain shape to their body, they wear certain clothes. All of that is staged to get you to relate to who you're looking at on the TV screen, and then to make a limiting decision about your life. And usually it's a medication. So I really wanted to unpack this today, and I'm sorry that we lost Chris, but we're almost at time anyhow. You're certainly welcome to send in any questions that you have. I'm for sure going to have him back on again for a next level of conversation. And definitely go to his website, which is vivohealthhrt.com. Book a consultation, tell them I sent you, get your labs run, have him look at your labs, and then have him talk to you about like what's going on in your life. Do you have brain fog? Are you finding it difficult to focus? Are you forgetful? Are you feeling defeated? Do you have a hard time with your self-talk? Is your body gaining or losing weight unnecessarily? Do you feel sluggish? Have you lost your reason to get out of bed in the morning? You know, sometimes people will end up on these psychotropics for depression or whatever, and really all they need is just to get their hormones in check and start to move their body a little bit more. Once the hormones are in check and they have the energy to do so, and your whole life can turn around, everything can change for you. So I think this is a close to today's show. I'm so glad to have you join me. Chris is back just when I was going to say goodbye. Okay, here we go.
Okay, I apologize about that.
That's okay. I was just going to say goodbye, but I'm glad you're back because I'll tell you where I let off, and
Okay.
then you can wrap it up with some commentary on that. So I explained to everyone about the brain syndicate, pineal, pituitary, hippocampus, and talk to them about the balance there, and then also encourage them to book a consultation with you.
Oh, yeah.
And then sort of listed off, some of the things that were maybe misdiagnosed for, like you might be given psychotropics for depression, but really it's just your hormones are wonky and you need to get them back in balance so you have the juice to get out of bed in the morning and go after life,
Exactly.
So that's kind of the path I took them down, and maybe you want to talk about that a little bit before we say goodbye.
Yeah. So when it comes to when it comes to just like mental health, especially like how, and I touched on this earlier, like how does your body respond to stressful situations? Which is also tied in many ways to your internal confidence, how you feel, like getting up.
Wow, looks like we lost him again. That's really too bad. Um, so this is what we'll do. We'll jump on and we'll do another episode. And I've given you his URL, so make sure you reach out to Chris. And we will do this next broadcast. We'll pick it up from in the stressful situations and responding to that on our next episode. So thank you for joining me. And remember, you guys, my next leadership and management retreat is coming up on June 22nd in Newport Beach, California, and then September 7th in Newport Beach, California, and October 12th in Savannah, Georgia. And I look forward to seeing you there. You can go to leadershipandmanagementretreat.com and all the information is there. Send me a message. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my show. I really appreciate you guys. Have a blessed day.